I can tell you our State Board of Education quite rightly has been looking at raising expectations, including changing the standard course of study that students are expected to complete in high school. And there's a very strong belief in the public, at least in North Carolina, having sat through a number of public hearings that the State Board did across the state. There's a very strong belief that that if you raise expectations, invariably it leads to more kids not being able to meet those expectations. We don't believe that's true. We've got 86 schools that we can show you in North Carolina, along with a lot of schools that we take people from North Carolina to in other parts of the country where that isn't true. And so we don't believe that that's sort of the Hobson's choice that people make it out to be. There's reason to be hopeful about North Carolina. I don't want to leave you thinking that we're without hope in the Tar Heel State. First of all, since that bad publicity in 2005, the state, for the class of 2006 and the class of 2007, has released a cohort graduation rate that hovers around 68 or 69% statewide, and is calculated in the way that most people believe it ought to be calculated. We still have conversations within the state about that, but it's increasingly that data is increasingly getting more attention. We certainly do all that we can to draw attention to it in the work that we do, and it's been seen as a real step forward in North Carolina that data is now available. It is disaggregated. It is available at the school level. Lots of things that are important to making it really a vital part of the conversation about schooling in North Carolina. Even more importantly, after listening to people like us for 7 months and others in North Carolina, a blue ribbon commission on testing and accountability that was appointed by the State Board of Education in North Carolina, who really are, I think, very, very well intended and thoughtful about this question of high expectations and high graduation rates. Their Blue Ribbon Commission has come back to them this month with a set of recommendations for changing what in North Carolina we call the ABC's accountability system, which for those of you who followed the standards movement for a long time know North Carolina was one of the first states to do that sort of thing. And so it's more than a decade old, really, and it's very much, I think, very much a first-generation kind of accountability system for schooling. Anyway, the Blue Ribbon Commission's come back, and really principal to their recommendations at the high school level is to essentially hold high schools accountable for three things: graduation rates, end-of-course exams, but they have reduced the number of end-of-course exams that would figure into that accountability to the exams that actually are required for graduation. At the moment, as we speak, a school is judged not only on the exams that matter to students, but also on exams that students take where there is no sort of accountability at the student level. And then lastly, and this is sort of the least defined, but I would argue vitally important, some sort of measure of college readiness, and they gave some examples of how that might be done. And the breakdown in terms of those three things is actually 40% of the weight. They recommended 40% of the weight on graduation rate, 30% on the test results, and 40% on the college readiness indicators. And that's a stark contrast to the current ABC system, where there is some consideration of the dropout rate, but it's completely overwhelmed by the various data points from the testing system. So it's a real powerful statement about kind of reframing the conversation of school accountability in North Carolina, and we're very excited. Obviously, the State Board now has to process this and move forward with it, and then sort of seek the support of the General Assembly. But at the same time, we've got a dropout commission that the General Assembly has put together that's also studying the issue. So there is a lot going on. I wouldn't want to leave you thinking that all is completely settled. I mean, there certainly have been public meetings that I've been at where folks, for example, raise the question of students who leave high school and get GEDs, and why don't we count, how are they counted? There are certainly pitfalls that we still need to reverse in North Carolina, but I really feel like we're moving in the right direction, and we're certainly at the New Schools Project going to keep pressing the pedal. So thank you for allowing me to speak to you this morning.